What if I told you that a girl from the 3rd Ward of Houston managed to buy a $200 million luxurious compound in Malibu? But that's only the beginning. Another oil tycoon built a 15,000 square foot diplomatic fortress that hosted presidents and kings. And then there's this legendary boxer who turned 45 acres of Texas land into a private compound with a pool shaped like a boxing glove. These aren't just stories. They are proof that Houston's black wealth screams louder than most cities in America. And we're counting down the 8 most extraordinary stories of that, starting at number 8. Number 8. Bun B, the trill standard of urban fortress living. Let's kick things off with a mansion that reframes what luxury real estate actually means. Because Bun B's home isn't a sprawling estate on the outskirts of the city, and that's precisely why it's exciting. Bernard Freeman, aka Bun B, is one of those Houston figures who's genuinely woven into the city at every level. He's a rapper, yes, but he also co-teaches a course at Rice University, one of the most academically prestigious institutions in the country. And he shows up for Houston's civic life in ways that most celebrities just don't bother with. So the home he chose reflects all of that. It's not a retreat from the city. It's a base inside it. His primary residence is a 3-story gated townhome on Knight Road in Houston, situated inside one of the city's most coveted gated communities. And the thing about urban luxury, real urban luxury, is that it operates on a different value system than acreage. The flex here isn't square footage. It's the zip code, the gate, and the infrastructure behind it. The layout itself is built around vertical separation, entertaining on one floor, living on another, private quarters at the top. For someone with Bun B's public profile, that structure matters practically. But it gained a lot more attention in 2019 when the property became national news for reasons nobody wanted. An armed intruder broke in, and what unfolded was essentially a real-time demonstration of why you want your living quarters elevated above the entry points of your home. Bun B heard the disturbance from the upper floors, came down, and handled it. The vertical design wasn't just aesthetic, it was functional in a way that most architects probably don't design for explicitly, but that ended up mattering enormously that night. Beyond that incident, the home's integration of high-level surveillance and strategic layout reflects something specific about how this tier of Houston's black professional class thinks about property. It's not about impressing people from the outside. It's about controlling what happens on the inside. There's a broader trend here worth naming. A lot of Houston's most successful black professionals are choosing urban, security-forward residences over pastoral compounds because proximity to the city's cultural and professional infrastructure is itself a form of capital. For Bun B, who needs rapid access to the Museum District, Rice University, and the Galleria, a fortress-grade townhome in the right zip code is arguably a smarter asset than a ranch house 40 minutes outside the loop. It's the most modest property on this list in terms of square footage. But modesty has nothing to do with what it represents. Number 7. Megan Thee Stallion, 7,500 square feet of H-Town Modernism. Now, if Bun B's place is the quiet tactical move, Megan Thee Stallion's latest acquisition is the full statement. Brand new construction, marble, everything, and all the square footage that comes with transitioning from Houston's hometown hero to a genuine national mogul. Megan's net worth sits around $13 million according to Forbes, and she's been deliberate and public about how she wants to build on that, not just through streaming and endorsements, but through tangible, lasting assets. Her most recent residential move in Houston was a co-purchase with NBA player Klay Thompson, developed by Majestad Homes, a boutique developer known for highly customized contemporary builds rather than cookie-cutter luxury. The result is a newly constructed home just over 7,500 square feet with a list price of approximately $2.3 million. 5 bedrooms, 5 full bathrooms, 2 half baths, and a layout clearly designed for someone who entertains at scale. The kitchen is the kind of space that signals intent. Massive marble countertops, high-end stainless steel appliances, and a dedicated wine room with floor-to-ceiling racks. That's not an add-on feature. That's a room that tells you exactly how this house is meant to be used. The property sits on an 11,200 square foot lot, with a backyard built thoughtfully for the Houston climate, covered patios, an outdoor kitchen, professional landscaping. The primary suite is designed with the kind of privacy that someone under Meghan's level of public scrutiny genuinely needs, not just as a preference, but as a professional necessity. What I find more interesting than the specs, though, is the context of the purchase. Meghan has been very open about the difference between earning money and building wealth, and buying real estate in your hometown, in a market you understand, in a city that's actively appreciating, is exactly the kind of move that distinction leads to. This isn't a celebrity purchase for clout. It's an asset in the soil of the city that made her, with a boutique developer whose custom finishes protect long-term value in ways that standard new construction doesn't. The house is beautiful, but the strategy behind it might be the more impressive part. Number 6. Hakeem Olajuwon, the Dream's quiet dynasty in Northgate Forest. There's a version of this list where Hakeem Olajuwon is ranked higher purely on the basis of legacy. And honestly, depending on how you measure things, the argument isn't that hard to make. But the house itself is deliberately understated, which is exactly the point, and exactly why it lands here. Olajuwon's residential footprint is anchored in the Northgate Forest subdivision, a golf course community in Houston known for its architectural range and its very specific kind of quiet exclusivity. No TMZ, no celebrity real estate gossip. Just serious, established money, living seriously and without much interest in being noticed. His estate at 2902 Pine Lake Trail is a two-story home built in 1983, spanning 7,271 square feet on a 24,594 square foot corner lot. The automated valuation sits just over $1.05 million, a number that is almost comically inadequate for what this property actually represents in the cultural landscape of Houston. This is Hakeem Olajuwon's house. Two-time NBA champion, two-time Finals MVP, the man who won back-to-back titles in Houston without a single member of the 1992 Dream Team on his roster, largely on the strength of a post-game that's still studied by big men today. The address has a weight to it that no appraisal algorithm is going to capture. The layout is built for a life of substance rather than spectacle. 4 oversized bedrooms, a library, a dedicated media room, a wine room, and an upstairs game room. The kitchen features granite countertops, a large island with a breakfast bar and convection ovens, not a showroom kitchen, a working one. The backyard has a private goodnight pool, a spa and hot tub, an outdoor kitchen, a fully fenced yard, and a detached garage apartment for staff or guests. What's worth understanding about Olajuwon's approach to real estate more broadly is that he figured out something most professional athletes take their entire career to learn, if they learn it at all. The goal isn't to own the most expensive thing available. It's to own land and infrastructure that compounds value over time, in markets and neighborhoods with staying power. He's spoken publicly about a long-term investment philosophy rooted in patience and stability. The Northgate Forest Estate is the residential expression of that. Durable materials, established neighborhood, strategic location, no spectacle, no headline, just a well-chosen property that's been appreciating quietly for decades. Which, if you think about it, is exactly how Hakeem played basketball. Number 5. Travis Scott. 12,000 square feet of futurist brutalism in the Museum District. We're past the halfway point now, and the numbers start changing significantly from here, in terms of square footage, valuation, and the sheer ambition of the architectural vision behind each property. Travis Scott's Museum District home, designed by architect Christopher Robertson, is one of the most genuinely unconventional luxury residences in all of Houston. The design language leans into modern brutalism and futurism. Exposed concrete, titanium, floor-to-ceiling glass walls, 3 floors of living space, and a roof deck with panoramic views of one of the city's most culturally layered neighborhoods. At 12,000 square feet and an estimated value of $14 million, it's a property that immediately communicates that the person who built it thought carefully about what they wanted a home to do, not just what they wanted it to look like. Scott has said publicly that he's obsessed with spaces that make you come alive. And walking through this property on paper, that philosophy is evident at every turn. The backyard entertainment pavilion is anchored by a large TV screen, summer kitchen, and fireplace, centered around a pool with a Baja shelf and a waterfall feature. Not a patio, genuinely a venue. The mahogany-paneled executive office with built-in bookshelves functions as a creative command center. The master suite comes with a private coffee bar and mahogany-fitted closets, and a spa-level bath. But the detail that actually tells the story of this property is the glass wall system. Floor-to-ceiling panels that collapse the boundary between the interior space and the surrounding greenery of the museum district, so that the outside becomes part of the experience of the inside at every hour of the day. That's not a stylistic flourish. That's an architect and a client working together to solve a very specific problem about how a space should feel. Scott's interest in architecture isn't decorative. It runs through his entire creative output, from his stage design to his role as creative visionary officer at Oakley. He views built environments the way other artists view composition, and this museum district estate is the fullest residential expression of that. It's not a place to live inside. It's a place designed to affect how you think and create while you're there. At $14 million, it slots in at number 5, which should give you a sense of where things are going. Number 4, George Foreman, 45 acres, a 64-car garage, and a boxing glove pool in Huffman. We've now crossed into compound territory. Not mansion, not estate, compound. George Foreman's property in Huffman, Texas, about 30 miles northeast of downtown Houston, operates at a scale that makes most of the properties above it on this list look like starter homes. The main residence is approximately 11,968 square feet of living space. But that number is almost irrelevant once you understand the full picture, because the total footprint of all structures on the property exceeds 45,000 square feet, spread across 45 acres. The whole thing is valued at over $10 million, and it represents something very specific about Foreman's arc. From growing up in Houston's 5th Ward, to becoming a 2-time world heavyweight champion, to building a global consumer brand off a countertop grill that sold over 100 million units worldwide. The property is, in a way, the physical ledger of that entire journey. The first thing that tends to stop people is the garage, a 64-car facility that has housed close to 50 luxury vehicles at a time. That's not a garage. That's a private automotive collection with a roof over it. Then there's the indoor swimming pool, which is reportedly shaped like a boxing glove, surrounded by rock waterfalls with an adjacent spa. That detail lands differently depending on your tolerance for maximalism. It's either the most on-brand architectural decision in the history of residential real estate or the most audacious, or both. Either way, it's the kind of thing you don't easily forget. The broader grounds include a separate fully equipped gymnasium, essentially a private training complex, with a wall featuring championship belts, photographs, and memorabilia from across Foreman's career, including the Rumble in the Jungle. There's a lake stocked with fish, multiple hiking and biking trails, and a large gazebo overlooking the water. The main house has 6 bedrooms, 12 bathrooms, a grand foyer with towering columns, and a spiral staircase as the central interior anchor. What strikes me most about this estate, though, isn't the scale. It's what the scale is for. Foreman has 12 children and numerous grandchildren, and this compound was explicitly designed as a private sanctuary for all of them. The 45 acres aren't a status symbol, they're space. Room for a large family to exist without crowding each other, to fish and hike and use the gym and just be together away from everything. That's a very different motivation than most of what drives luxury real estate purchases, and it comes through in the way the property was designed. Now, before we move on to our next billionaire mansion, here's some good news for you. We're offering exclusive memberships for our loyal subscribers, which include early access to exclusive content, loyalty badges in your name, and official shoutouts in our videos. Join Black Status as a channel member right now and become part of the inner circle. Let's build this community together. See you on the inside. Number 3. James Harden, the $10 million steel modernist resort in Rivercrest. James Harden's Rivercrest mansion has been described in Houston real estate circles as one of the most technically advanced residential structures in the city, a claim that carries real weight in a market full of custom builds and oil money. And having gone through the details, it's not hard to see why that reputation exists. The property spans 16,908 square feet on a 26,000 square foot lot, valued at $10 million. The exterior is steel and glass modernism, deliberate, sharp, and architecturally distinct from the more traditional luxury surrounding it in Rivercrest. 8 bedrooms, 12 bathrooms, and an interior that functions less like a private home and more like a self-contained private resort, which is not a metaphor. Start with the pool. 60,000 gallons. Heated saltwater, dual water features, a waterfall flowing into a grotto with its own interior seating area, and 3 shaded cabanas on the deck. The wine room is climate-controlled with glass walls, cork flooring, and a 1,000 bottle capacity. The kitchen has a large marble island, sub-zero refrigeration, and enough dishwashers and microwaves to handle genuine catering. Because when you're hosting NBA circles in Houston, that's not a hypothetical need. There's a 12-seat home theater, a billiards room, a full bar, and a master bathroom with marble floors, vaulted wood ceilings, and a professional barber's chair, because some details are simply very on-brand. The exterior is guarded by steel and concrete columns and finished in a contrasting black and white color scheme that's been referenced in Houston luxury real estate conversations for years. The property also includes an on-site fitness room, a full spa, a fire pit, an outdoor kitchen, and a 2-story casita for guests or staff. Here's what's worth noting about the investment logic behind this purchase. For someone with a reported $165 million net worth, $10 million in Rivercrest is a calculated allocation, not a splurge. The neighborhood appreciates, the design is architecturally distinctive enough to hold value independently of market conditions, and the property functions simultaneously as a private retreat, a recovery facility, and a high-capacity entertainment space. That's a real estate decision, not just a wealth expression. The property is iconic in Houston luxury circles. But the next 2 entries on this list are operating on a different financial register entirely. We're moving from athletic contracts and entertainment income into something older, larger, and considerably harder to quantify. Number 2, Kase Lawal, the oil billionaire's 15,000 square foot diplomatic fortress. Kase Lawal is probably the least recognizable name on this list, and that gap between his relative public obscurity and the scale of his actual wealth is itself a window into how serious money operates in Houston. Lawal is a Nigerian-born oil tycoon. His company, Kamak Energy, at its peak, controlled oil assets, logistics networks, and international contracts that placed it among the largest black-owned energy firms on the planet. Not in Houston, not in Texas. On the planet. The circles he moves in are not entertainment industry circles or sports industry circles. They're the circles where energy policy, international contracts, and infrastructure deals get made. People in Houston's financial world describe his level of wealth as sovereign, meaning it's not just money, it's the kind of capital that operates like its own system. His primary Houston residence is a 15,264 square foot, 14-room mansion in the Memorial and Galleria neighborhoods, the part of Houston where serious oil money has always concentrated itself. The estate serves not just as a home, but as a functioning diplomatic center, which is a description that tells you everything about how Lawal's professional life operates. The conference room features a wall of photographs alongside former heads of state, presidents, and kings, not celebrities, not athletes, heads of government. Because those are the people Lawal is actually doing business with. The property itself carries an appraisal starting around $3.5 million for the primary structure, but that number is largely beside the point. The broader Lawal holding companies represent a level of accumulated wealth that resists easy valuation, and he has since moved capital into sports ownership and major philanthropic initiatives in ways that are quietly reshaping portions of Houston's economic landscape. What separates Lawal's story from almost everyone else on this list is the nature of the wealth itself. He didn't build it from a talent that a public gave him, an audience, a fan base, a viewership. He built it from infrastructure, drilling rights, pipelines, logistics contracts, energy systems. He owns the mechanism that produces the wealth, not just the output of it. In Houston, a city whose entire modern economy was built on exactly that kind of infrastructure ownership, that distinction carries enormous weight. The mansion is an expression of that. It's not designed to impress fans or make a cultural statement. It's a home that functions as a global operations center, designed for the kind of business that happens far from public view. Number 1. The Knowles-Carter family. Buying the block, owning the culture. At the top of this list is a family whose connection to Houston isn't just biographical, but also foundational to everything they've built, at every scale, across every industry they've entered. Beyonce Knowles-Carter grew up in Houston's Third Ward. That's not a detail. It's the origin point of one of the most carefully constructed, relentlessly executed business empires in modern American history. She and Jay-Z have a combined net worth somewhere north of $2.5 billion. They own a $200 million compound in Malibu, properties in the Hamptons and New York, and their real estate approach has a defined philosophy behind it. Buy the block. In practice, that means not just buying a home in the neighborhood that raised you. It means buying the surrounding infrastructure, acquiring adjacent properties, and embedding your wealth into the economic foundation of the place itself so that your prosperity and the community's prosperity become structurally linked. That's a strategy with implications that outlast any single property. Their historical connection to Riverside Terrace in Houston remains a genuine landmark of Black excellence in the city, and their modern Houston investments reflect the full weight of that identity. Properties with private gardens, personal theaters, state-of-the-art security systems, and helipads. Because when your professional life requires you to move between continents on short notice, that's not an extravagance, it's logistics. But what places the Knowles-Carter family at the top of this list isn't any single property. It's the architecture of the wealth itself. Music, obviously, but also film production, fashion through Ivy Park, champagne through Armand de Brignac, streaming technology through Tidal, and real estate across multiple countries and markets. That's not diversification in the casual sense. That's vertical integration, owning the pipeline at multiple levels simultaneously so that no single market shift, no single industry disruption destabilizes the whole structure. Beyoncé took something specific about Houston, that particular blend of ambition, self-reliance, and deep local pride that people from the city talk about as a defining characteristic, and applied it at a scale that the city itself is still absorbing. She didn't leave the Third Ward behind. She built something large enough that the Third Ward is now part of its foundation. That's the top of this list. Not because of the dollar figure on any single property, though the numbers are extraordinary, but because of what the whole thing represents. A family that understood very early and very clearly that the goal isn't to buy into someone else's system. The goal is to own one. And there you have it, 8 most luxurious Black-owned properties in Houston that really show that the city's Black wealth isn't a recent development or a lucky accident. It's the result of people who thought carefully about what they were building and built accordingly. Every person on this list started somewhere and turned it into something that compounds. Which of these residences impressed you the most? Let me know in the comments, and for more such interesting peeks into how Black wealth is prospering across America, take a look at Black status.